Yeah, so I recently made a post on social media saying that I wish that people would take the time to read 5 books, even on propaganda, and that I recommend. And then somebody actually responded and said, "Yeah, I'd actually be curious in what it is that you recommend." So yeah, I'm going to go a little bit above and beyond. First one, Win Bigly by Scott Adams. Modern day, he's the guy that created Dilbert, the comic, and it's kind of a modern. He's an ultra liberal. He describes himself as, and so it's kind of a different perspective, but I read it, even though I tend to lean not really liberal or conservative, but I read it anyway. Another great new book from the 1980s is Modern Persuasion Strategies. And this book will show a lot of the things that good salespeople use, techniques that if you learn this well, you just might realize that when people are using those same techniques on you. Next up is Rosa's book. And I got to meet her in Phoenix a few years ago. Awesome gal. Again, she is with Democrats or Democrats against Agenda 21, and she wrote this. This kind of is a good explanation of Agenda 21, and there is a new Agenda 2030. But this, it's worth reading. Just put it in the back of your mind. It's a little bit easier than the actual book that the UN put out on it that's simply titled Agenda 21. Great book. Next one is thick and expensive, as it should be. This is The Underground History of American Education by John Taylor Gatto. And wow, what a powerful book. And the neat thing about this book is you can just read little bits and pieces here and there. And yeah, it's a great book. Now, I will admit that this book does not have, it's not all completely backable, upable. So he does say, it's interesting that this happens, and then a little bit later this happens. So it's not held to the highest of academic standards, but it is well worth reading and then just letting your mind stew on it for a couple years and see what you come up with. This has been declassified and released and is a great book, the CIA Manual for Psychological Operations in Guerrilla Warfare. And, some people have the idea that propaganda is a thing of the past. It doesn't exist anymore. Well, see what you think. That's worth reading. Very thin. It's a quick, fun, easy read, but it lets you know what some folks are thinking. Next one is Therapeutic Metaphors. And the first half of this book is easy and fun and enjoyable. And then, boy, oh boy, does it ever get deep. So just kind of keep plugging along and pretending like you understand. I probably understood 50 or 70% of the first half and probably only got 30% out of the second half. But it's a book on NLP, which is a debatably real science or technique for communicating with people. I happen to believe in it strongly, and so does our business. And TripAdvisor reviews will say that, maybe that does work. Maybe it's a good idea. So that's a great one. The next one is a book that Back as a Cop. And I know this is a little bit over 5. Even though I'm not good in math, I do know I'm over 5 right now. But I'll toss in a couple extras. Gavin De Becker, kind of the man when it comes to the psychology of personal protection, bodyguarding, that kind of stuff. He's the man. And this book is great. The initial book that he wrote that kind of made him famous was The Gift of Fear. And I suggest you read it if you're being stalked or harmed by someone. Back when I was a cop, I would actually give a dollar bill to victims and say, please go rent this book from the local video store. It was powerful. This book is kind of following it up and saying, hey, folks are going to try to tell you you've got to really be scared of stuff. Maybe not. Maybe you should fear less. And then finally, we'll go to the oldest book here, The Crowd, Study the Popular Mind by Gustave Le Bon. And boy, oh boy, you want to talk about politically incorrect. There are going to be a few things in here that's like, women tend to be more emotional and just aren't as, there are going to be some things that might trigger you. But yeah, it was written over 100 years ago. Very interesting, kind of looking at how people think. So I think if you read all 8 of these books, if I'm counting correctly, if you read all 8 of those books, you would probably have a different perspective than you currently have. Or if you don't change it, you're going to feel more strongly about what it is you believe in. These are not books that most people have ever read, but kind of gives you a little peek into the strange place that is my mind and why I've come to some of the conclusions that I've come to. Now, a notable loss or absence here is probably the best book, better than any of these, and that is G. Edward Griffin's The Creature from Jekyll Island. And that explains a ton. It's just very good. I don't have that copy. I don't think I have it in paperback form or hardcover. I've listened to it on Audible, and it is long, but so worth it. I'd been touting the book and giving quotes from it for years, and then I finally actually read the whole thing, and wow, was it ever worth it. So, yeah, G. Edward Griffin, Creature from Jekyll Island. It is phenomenal, and yeah, if you get through all those and you haven't followed enough rabbit holes and you want more suggestions, boy, oh boy, do I have them.